Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Citizen Live at 1. It is the 14th of August 2013 and my name is Michelle Morgan. Let's start by taking a look at the World Championships. Now, former 3000 World Junior Championship Mercy Cherono and 2001 Africa Cross Country silver medalist Viola Kibiwott are through to the 5,000 meter final at the World Athletics Championships. However, after the morning heats, reigning African cross-country champion Margaret Wangari will not join them after she pulled out halfway through the heat with a suspected hamstring injury. Now, defending 1,500 meter champion Absel Kiprop, Commonwealth champion Silas Kiplagat, Nixon Chepseba and Bethwell Burjan all qualified for the semi-finals. Maureen Wende has all the latest.
So the first heat of the women's 5,000 meters had 2010 World Cross Country Junior Champion Mercy Cherono, reigning African Cross Country Champion Margaret Wangari, and Ethiopia's Almaz Ayana. It was shaping up to be a very slow race.
Violent, and amazingly, even though we didn't think it was possible, it's got even slower.
Cherono picked up pace as she came through the field at the halfway stage. Kenya's hopes of 3 representatives in the 5,000 meters were dashed when Wangari dropped out of the race with a suspected hamstring strain.
Hang on a minute, that's one of the Kenyans has gone. That's Muriuki. That's such a shame. She's limping.
Cherono maintained the pace at the front and won it in 15 minutes 34.7 seconds.
Cherono is coming home to beat Ayana. They just cannot resist running hard towards the end.
2011 African silver medalist Viola Kibiwott was in heat 2 with 2007 world champion Meseret Tefa. It was a way faster heat as compared to the first one, with American Kim Conley leading the field.
It is a bit faster, not exactly skipping along.
The final lap was the usual Kenyan-Ethiopian battle, despite it being a heat, and Defa took the win ahead of compatriot Buze Diriba and Kibiwott.
All of these athletes chasing here will go through to the final.
The heat was considerably faster, and the athletes who finished between 6th and 10th qualified as the 5 fastest losers for Saturday's final. Defending champion Asbel Kiprop was in the first heat of the 1,500 meters, which he decided to lead from the word go.
And there comes Kiprop, deciding he just wants to make sure there are no histrionics here in the early stages.
It was a fairly straightforward qualification for Kiprop, who took the heat in 3 minutes 38.15 seconds.
And pretty comfortable qualification for Asbel Kiprop there.
Commonwealth champion Silas Kiplagat was in heat 2 alongside Kenyan-born Turk Ilham Tanui. He stayed in the middle of the pack for most of the race. Kiplagat made his move in the final lap to win the heat in 3 minutes 39.31 seconds and make the semis.
Kiplagat gets it, Mazzano there.
The final heat had 2 Kenyans, Nixon Chepseba, Bethwell Birgen, Frenchman Boubdel Atari and American Matthew Centrovitz. Chepseba, typical of his running style, led the way alongside Briton Chris O'Hare. With many of the race's top athletes in the heat, it was the fastest and most competitive of the 3. Chepseba held on to win it in 3 minutes 38.37 seconds. Birgen finished 4th to qualify for the semi-finals on Friday.
Bergen and Chepseba, Branham and Gebri Meedin all through.
Maureen Wende, Citizen at 1.
Moving on, Kathy Kilonzo has moved to court to obtain an anticipatory bail to stop police from arresting her over alleged fraudulent acquisition of her voter registration acknowledgement slip. Now, we have our reporter, Abdi Osman, who is at the Milimani Law Courts to give us more details. Good afternoon, Abdi.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Yes, here at the High Court, the process, the ball is rolling as far as that anticipatory bail application by Kathy Kilonzo is concerned. Her lawyers filed that anticipatory bail application, the papers yesterday at about 6 p.m. in the evening. And through her lawyer, Harun Dubi, she says the reason why she is seeking the anticipatory bail is because the police, through their utterances in the media, through their actions, have shown that they are indeed bent on arresting this lawyer, Kathy Kilonzo, who has become synonymous with quite a number of ongoing cases and some past cases. She was the face of the presidential election petition. She has another case against the IEBC. But most importantly, Michelle, this is indeed perhaps one of the most crucial legal battles she is embarking on. It may just be an anticipatory bail, but she, as she says in her application through her lawyer Harun Dubi, the police are out to humiliate her and have actually been trying to scandalize her, not just through the utterances, but very, very suggestive comments that she is guilty of fraud. Therefore, she has indeed filed the papers yesterday through her lawyer Harun Dubi, who was here at about 6 p.m. at the Milimani High Court yesterday evening. He filed the papers, and this morning at about a few minutes to 9 o'clock in the morning, Harun Dubi was back to follow up on the matter, but there was no duty judge to hear the anticipatory bail application. Now, Michelle, the talk had been and the suggestions had been that the anticipatory bail would be before a judge this afternoon. We can't confirm that that has since been moved. The registry has confirmed that the matter has been assigned to Justice Lydia Achode, and they will be appearing, Kathy Kilonzo's lawyers and all other parties involved in the ongoing investigations, including representatives of the police and the CID, will be appearing before Justice Lydia Achode tomorrow morning at about 9. So for Kathy Kilonzo, she says the signs are clear. The utterances by the police have all been pointing to a pattern clearly heading towards arrest. She says, as in her application papers, that as a counsel of the court, she's a law-abiding counsel and therefore would not try to abscond from the process. She wants to get the anticipatory bail to prevent the police from scandalizing her and humiliating her any further. So we will be watching all the proceedings unfold here at the Milimani court. We'd been pitched for the better part of the day, but all action, Michelle, shifts to tomorrow when the anticipatory bail application will be had. Michelle.
Thank you very much, Abdi, for all of those details. We'll be sure to follow that story as it develops. Now, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has confirmed returning 5 government vehicles that were in his possession in compliance with a directive by Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Lenku. In a statement denied he was holding the vehicle, he had it intervened. President will retain the to his stint at principal February report.
For the return, who accused leader spokesman Denny with the Interior Joseph Lenku's directive and surrendered 5 vehicles. In the security arrangement outlined by Ole Lenku, the former Prime Minister and his ally in the opposition team, former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, were assigned 12 bodyguards each and 2 vehicles as part of their security detail, but were later ordered to surrender luxury cars assigned to them by the government when they were in office. Odinga was ordered to return 8 cars in his possession, 3 Mercedes-Benz cars, a Range Rover, 3 Prados and a Nissan Sunny. A similar letter to Musyoka directed him to return 2 4-wheel drive vehicles that were in his possession. The former Prime Minister has denied claims that he had sought President Kenyatta's intervention to retain the state vehicles. Odinga said his office had only communicated with the Interior Affairs Ministry on the procedure of releasing the vehicles in his possession. Francis Gashuri, Citizen at 1.
Now, tension remains high in Turkana following the recent killing of a fisherman at the Tudonyang border near Lake Turkana. Out of 7 people said to have been killed during the attacks, only 1 body has been recovered. One of the bodies is believed to be of a Kenyan police reserve officer.
The search for the bodies of those killed during the attacks by Ethiopian militia, the Merile Herders, is in progress. The search team has so far recovered 1 body, 11 bodies still missing. Hundreds of families have fled their homes in fear of retaliatory attacks. The Red Cross has had challenges in recovering more bodies due to fear of accessing the Tudonyang Delta, the spot where the attacks occurred, as there are fears of more attacks by the militia. North Turkana authorities have ordered military commanders to intensify both land and water patrols to secure the territory from the illegal invaders. Macharia Mwangi, Citizen at 1.
Let's move over to Migori County, where police have launched investigations into an incident where 3 men were burnt to death by locals in Nyarongi village. According to the police, the 3 were suspected of being cattle rustlers.
Migori County Commander Clement Gatogo, the suspects were driving from Mihuru towards Migori town when they met the villagers at Mwache, who accosted them and later burned their vehicle.
Tulipata ripoti ya kwamba iko watu walikuwa wamechomwa pahali inaitwa Mwache, which is within Migori police station.
A relative of the deceased, however, denied the claims that the 3 were cattle rustlers, stating that one of the victims was apparently working as an accountant at the Department of Defense.
My uncle was taken to German for further studies by the government, and he was working at the embassy. So when he came back, he worked with the Ministry of Trade and Industry. He was the accountant there.
Residents say that cases of cattle rustling have been on the increase, and they link the vice to certain prominent people.
Hivi majuzi ng'ombe iliibwa hapa chini, ng'ombe 3. Hizo ng'ombe 3 zilienda na gari. Alafu tena hapo nyuma ng'ombe zilienda tena huku, ng'ombe 2 zilienda na gari. Sasa vile ilikuwa usiku na hawa watu walikuja na gari na wakaanza kujielezea, na watu bado walikuwa na ile uchungu wa ng'ombe zile zilienda. Ndio wakaanza kujielezea na watu hawakufanya nini? Hawakuelewa eti wanasema ukweli.
The bodies of the 3 were taken to Migori Level 4 Hospital mortuary as investigations continue.
Senior Kenya Revenue Authority official today appeared in court charged with soliciting for an estimated 8 million shilling bribe from a Nairobi businessman, Richard Njoroge Kimani. Now, Njoroge denied the charges and was released on a cash bail of 2 million shillings.
Richard Njoroge Kimani appeared before a Nairobi magistrate D.A. Okundi to answer corruption-related charges. It's alleged that Njoroge, who was acting for Senior Assistant Commissioner of KRA, was arrested by officers from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission while receiving a bribe demand of $57,000, an equivalent of 5 million shillings. Njoroge is said to have demanded for the bribe from Frederick Kariuki Manasseh as an inducement to cancel a 119 million shillings tax evasion case against him. Njoroge denied the charges and was released on a cash bail of 2 million shillings. The case will be heard again on 11th November this year. According to the Commission's Vice Chairperson Irene Keino, Njoroge, who is a KRA Assistant Commissioner of Domestic Tax, asked for the bribe from the owner of Freemark Graphics Machine Printers Limited. Keino said according to their investigations, Njoroge had exaggerated the tax evasion amount so as to extort more bribe money from the company owners. Kendagor, Obadia Citizen at 1.
The Jubilee Coalition have lashed out at an attempt by the Coalition for Reform and Democracy CORD to introduce a referendum seeking to change the system of governments to a parliamentary system endorsed by Kenyans in the Constitution to a presidential system. The National Alliance Party of Kenya TNA Secretary General Onyango Oloo said the former Prime Minister and his CORD allies are attempting to undermine the ruling coalition to make up for their defeat in the March 4th election. Over the weekend, Raila Odinga was in Nyanza, where he suggested a referendum be held to change the constitution to allow for a parliamentary system where ODM, having a majority seats in parliament, would guarantee the country's leadership. Oloo added that Jubilee is committed to devolution, contrary to allegations that it is frustrating devolution.
It is surprising to note that an individual is tying his fate and destiny with the destiny of this country. In 1997, when the CORD leader lost elections, he turned up to say that they wanted a parliamentary system of governance during the constitution write-up. In 2002, when he lost the elections, he changed tune and advocated for a presidential system of governance which would consolidate the country under a single and a unitary system. We are surprised after losing the elections in 2013 he changes tune again to say now he wants parliamentary system. The question we pose to fellow countrymen and countrywomen: shall we wait until the individual loses or wins election before we decide which structures to take? We are saying no, no, no. We are not afraid of the referendum. We are not afraid of reaching out to Kenyans on whatever issues of public interest. But 2 years or a year is not enough to test whether a presidential system has failed or succeeded.
The March 4th Movement Steering Committee plans to hold a series of rallies to push for a referendum on the constitutional amendment by popular initiative. The group has, however, indicated that it is not a political organization, neither is it affiliated to any political party. Speaking at an event to announce its launch, members of its top organ said the amendment, if successful, will see the country move from a presidential system to a collegiate system through counties. The movement, whose launch is set for the 22nd of August, targets to raise 1 million voters, with 300,000 already appended. The movement says it will rush for a move away from tyranny of numbers to safety of numbers. Eliud Owalo, a former aide to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, officially joined the group during the morning. The group, however, denies claims that it is pushing for Arab Spring-style revolution in the country.
Test of the new constitution, and it failed to give us an election that everybody can just see and examine and walk away with. We had to go through very expensive processes of petitions and all those things. So March 4th for us is important in that sense.
There is nothing wrong with us advocating for a process that may lead to a referendum, while a different group, specifically the governors and senators, are also advocating for a change of a different article of the Constitution that may also lead to a referendum. In fact, if you ask me, we can have one referendum but subject, let Kenyans give views on a raft of questions at one single referendum.
The former PM is talking about a message that is different from what we are saying. So we're not reading from the same script, so be careful about that. What we are saying is that this is a people's movement. And people of Kenya means anybody, so long as he's a Kenyan, is invited to join. Therefore, even if he's joining us because he's a former PM, but they have a difference, it is all right.
Now, the mere thought of eating insects may itself be a disgusting experience, but to the Luhya community in Western Kenya, termites make a special delicacy ranked highly on the menu. This is for its nutritional value and more critical for its taste. A pallet of termites is apparently exceptional, and the tendency to yearn for more is common amongst residents of the Western region. August is a blessed month in the calendar of the Luhya people. It is the season of termites. Brenda Cheriot has just returned from Western Kenya and now tells us why a termite is not just any other insect. It is a reliable source of protein.
They say the spirit has once again returned to this part of Kenya's western region. Men, women and children gather around anthills to harvest plates of termites to lay on the dinner tables.
Inaanguka hapo, vup, vup. Yani sasa yani ikisimama hapo inafanya tu ndani tu tatu. Ile sasa tunasema tatu ine. Na inaanguka tu ingine makarama ingine nini.
Inexperienced toddlers watch from afar the rhythmic style of harvesting, their favorite delicacy. Knowing that they too will be required to take after their elders in this cultural event, passed on from generation to generation. On a typical afternoon in the month of August, when the rains are reportedly at the peak, termite harvesters stream into the fields to yield the insects commonly known as kumbi in Swahili or siswa in Luhya. Jacob Barasa, a veteran harvester of termites, together with other farmers, look for potential anthills that will guarantee them plenty of the nutritious creatures. Sometimes these small-scale farms that breed termites can be disappointing. Encountering such obstacles doesn't prevent them from exploring further. This one, however, looks promising. The first thing to secure a good catch is to clear the vegetation growing on the anthill. Meanwhile, others begin beating the drums that will eventually transform itself into a festival.
Mutomo ya kumbe ndio tuanze fanya nini kukonga vile niko hivi. Tena tunasenjura yani tunakwarusa na chembe ndio tupata hiyo nini shimo ya kumbe.
Having spotted the termites' path, the harvesters proceed to earmark the areas using a leaf, popularly known here as murandula. Water is then poured into the marked holes as the drumming intensifies.
Utamu wa muziki kuku kuna kuimbako na kufanya nini na kuimwakia maji yani isitereze yani isikue kitu ngumu. Unajua hii inatembea vitu soft ya kama maji.
The topsoil is mixed with water to form clay models, replacing the leaves that were placed in the holes. At this point, the drumming is accompanied by music. The song is building up, the climax is fast approaching, and the termites are apparently warming up to the music. The beat. A little smoke is blown into the holes to prevent them from escaping during the gathering process.
Sasa ikipata hiyo moshi inakuwa mchangamfu alafu inafanya nini inakuja juu.
Using clay, they then construct traps shaped like the termite's abdomen. At times, doing these termites to come out of the comfort zone can take a lengthy period. And here, patience is highly required when communicating to these six-legged insects.
Na wakati mwingine kama kuna baridi nyingi sana, so hapo itabidi mtatumia muda mrefu, lakini labda mkose kupata.
Still, there is an antidote to such bad weather.
Na tena hii vitu inaokopa baridi. Sasa tuko na wimbo wetu tunaimbanga omea kwa vira omea kwa kibukusu yani omea kwa vira yani baridi yende. Sasa vile tunafanya hivi hii kweli ni kazi ngumu.
After a span of 3 hours, we witnessed the hard labor finally pay off. They like flying vitamin capsules that is a treat to the taste buds of this community in Lugari, Kakamega County. Each farmer gets a share of the termites to take home, but others wouldn't wait for the fire to be lit. They have it raw. At Jacob's homestead, they made it to the kitchen. And so we watched the raw termites turn into a delicious meal in the cooking pot. United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization published a report in 2013 showing that there are 1,900 edible insect species which form the menu of several communities in the countries across the world. According to the report, a third of the population feeds on insects. And the taste? It's scrumptious, just like what the locals call it, nyama. Brenda Terriot, Citizen TV, Lugari.
Brenda certainly found that delicious. On to other stories now. And pastoralist communities have been encouraged to educate their children as means of overcoming the numerous challenges they continue to face, occasioned by a high number of young girls who are dropping out of school due to early marriages. This is now being inextricably linked to female genital mutilation, a vice that leaders in Laikipia County continue to fight.
Education. That was the word of the day in Rumuruti Catholic Church in Laikipia West. Speaking during a closed-door meeting, the nominated MP Sarah Lekorere emphasized the need to educate children, saying it is a constitutional right. She also lamented the challenges young girls are facing. Lekorere also cautioned the communities that still continue to practice FGM, terming the vice as an outdated cultural practice, and those found doing so will face the full force of the law.
Upashaji wa tohara ya wasichana ni kitu imepitwa na wakati. Ikiwa wewe ni mwanaume kabisa umeshindwa kujizuia, tafadhali usikaribie mtoto wa shule. Na ukikaribie muombe Mungu isifikie mheshimiwa sana. Manake ikinifikia wewe utakuwa umeshika waya ya stima live.
Lekorere's sentiments were echoed by the county governor Joshua Irungu, who called on all the stakeholders to join hands and help in fighting FGM in the area, as well as encourage parents to educate their children on being cautious in order to avoid being lured into such activities.
Right, we're going to take a short break, but we will be back with business news and sports, so don't go too far.